Hello. Oh, hold on. I've forgotten to. Oh, hello. Hooray. Hello. John.
Better?
There we go. Hello. Good morning.
How are you? Sorry, I just emailed you, but obviously you can ignore the email. It was just to say that I'm waiting to get in. But yeah.
Thank you. Hello. Hiya, Ross.
Hi.
Morning. Sorry for the slight delay this morning. My Wi-Fi cut out completely.
Oh no.
So I've just been running around the house like in some crazy mad panic because I have
Just,
no Wi-Fi at all.
I look a bit whitewashed, so let me just pull my blinds down. Hold on.
You
I was
do.
going to say, you look very bright, yeah.
Thanks for joining us, John. I'm excited about this. It's going to be great.
No, it's good. You're very welcome indeed. How's everything been going for you?
It's been a little bit stressful, if I'm honest. Yeah, we've been all right though. I think reality's hitting this week. I spent the first couple of weeks just having a good old jolly, and now I'm like, oh, my kids should probably do some work. So stress levels are through the roof. But
Yes.
anyway. Apart from that, we're all right. Right, I'm going to try and sort out my light. I look a bit.
Do I look translucent still, or is it a bit better?
You do look like you need some.
Still quite bright.
Let me just try. That's a lot better, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's better. I've got the opposite problem. I look really yellow. I look like I've had too many, I don't know, Capri Suns, I was going to say. Showing my... Oh, this is...
It was Sunny D back in the day.
Yeah.
A long time ago, before we realised it causes behavioural problems.
Exactly. Whenever I use a ring light, it reflects in my glasses, and
It does.
I'm just wondering if I should change my top because I'm feeling a bit. I might wear something different.
Kate's here. Morning, Kate. So, though you're actually called Jamie.
Yeah, that's me.
Hi, Jamie, Kate.
Hello. Although my webcam doesn't seem to be on at the moment. Come on.
You're on voiceless.
There you go.
Hey. Oh, look at you. It's you're like an 80s DJ.
Oh yeah, that's me.
Some kind of helicopter pilot.
I'm not sure this is working either. Right.
You're quite white.
Bear with me. Do you know what I'm going to do?
Do you know what you look like, Ross? You look like, do you remember See Here in the 80s when it was John What's It with just like a floating head? My screen's falling down. Hold on, let me just put that back up. Oh, it's so professional.
I like the yellow chair though.
Yeah, God, yeah, this is some dodgy like 80s pine chair that my mother-in-law handed down to me. Right, John, you look like you're frozen. Either that or you're very happy. Yeah, no, we've definitely lost John. So that's good. How are you? Good morning, Kate. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. I've been to Sainsbury's. I have some food. The day is good.
John's back again. Hooray!
I've switched to a different internet because it's safer on this one.
Yes, I think the whole of the world is probably on Zoom this morning, or at least on the internet in some way. Kate, you look like you're in some kind of identity parade where they're...
I have no idea what's just happened there. It's
not ideal for interpreting.
Not great, no. I don't know what has happened to me. Oh no, that doesn't help.
Right.
Move backwards.
Whilst everybody's faffing around, quick recap of what we're going to do. So John, thank you very much for joining us. Kate and Russell are going to be interpreting for us. So we can just, oh, you're back.
I seem to be feeling better, so that's nice.
So we can just basically ignore them and let them do their thing whilst we're talking. They're going to swap in and out. Are you going to swap every 10 minutes? Oh, where's Ross gone? Ross is gone.
He's still around.
Oh, you're here. Okay. Ross and Kate, how do you want to work?
I think 10 minutes is good to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was a face-to-face job of, 2 hours, I'd probably, let's do 15, 20. But I think with these, I think online it's slightly different. There are some added, you've got a smaller frame and you've got to concentrate on the screen. And I think it'll just keep it fresh. Is that all right with you, Kate?
Yeah, that suits me. That sounds lovely. Yeah, and just general over to you-ishness to pass it over, yeah?
Yeah, well, I think, Helen, you're going to turn our video off for the non-active interpreter, is that right?
Well, actually, I think it's easier if you turn your own off, because if you turn you off, I then have to invite you to come back in again. So
okay, so when my video goes on, I'll be listening, and when my video goes on, then we can
be ready.
Be ready.
Yeah. So if the non-active interpreter keeps an eye on the time, and when it gets to 10 minutes, turn yourself back on.
Yeah.
And that's the cue for the other person to hand over as soon as there's a sort of natural pause. Does that work for you guys? Yeah. Ross and Kate, we'll start with everybody on screen, just so that the audience can see everybody, so they don't get a shock when one of you suddenly pops up on screen. Who is this person? So John's going to do a quick sort of I'll say hello, thank you very much for joining us, blah, blah, blah. This is one of several Facebook Lives which we're going to be doing. On Friday, the next one is Sing Along Sally, which is a toddler music class. I'm just going to say, thanks very much for joining us, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm going to hand over to John to introduce himself. And then John's got a 10-15 minute little chat about what's happening with exams. And then after that, we'll go to Q&A. I will manage all the questions coming in via Facebook. I've got 7 questions already. That might actually work out as all we've got time for. The questions that I've got already are, my child's homework is too hard for me to help them with, so I don't understand my child's, this is a question from me, by the way. I don't understand my child's homework. How do I help them? My child doesn't want to do their schoolwork, so it's a constant battle. Any advice for managing the battle? Parents trying to juggle children of different ages. So if you've got kids of various ages, how on earth do you help them all at the same time? That's also from me. Then there'll be a question around mental health and stress. So how do we support our children who are getting really scared of getting left behind? Mental health for the parents who are under a huge amount of pressure.
Yes,
any advice to try to keep, try not to panic. When we go back to school, what's going to happen? Are we just going to pick up where we left off, or are we going to pretend this whole thing never happened and if you missed it, you missed it? Do you know anything about the 11 plus? Anything that's likely to happen with that? And what about parents who don't have Wi-Fi or can't afford printer ink, or there's one laptop between 3 children? What advice have you got for them? Yeah,
that's all fine.
So we're going to try and stick to 45 minutes. If it becomes really obvious that we've just got way too much to cover, if it's okay with you, John, I might suggest we come back at another time and do a bit more.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's see how it goes. If you need to come back because there's another 50 questions, then we can do it. Yeah. That's fine.
Brilliant. Okay, we should have quite a few deaf people. There's been a lot of comments from deaf people, and it's been shared amongst a lot of deaf groups.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
Good.
So hopefully we're going to get this message out to those parents as well.
Good.
There's nowhere else for them to get it, that's for sure at the moment. So I'm just going to, okay, so we've got 3 minutes.
Helen, do you want us on mute generally for the interpreter side of things?
Please. Good point. Who's going to start, Russ or Kate?
don't mind. I don't mind starting, Kate, if you want. Oh, you've muted.
She's muted herself.
Okay, so
Ross is
first. Okay.
Ross is going to start. So just a reminder then, if you can all stay on screen initially, I'll introduce everybody. Then I'll say, okay, goodbye, Kate. Kate will go. And then after 10 minutes, when Kate pops up, that's Ross's cue to hand over to Kate. As soon as Kate takes over, Ross, you then disappear. And does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, I think, has anybody got any questions? We've got 2 minutes left.
No, I'm fine.
You all right?
Did you manage to work out how to live stream it and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So, yeah, in a minute, I'll just go live into our groups.
Okay.
I can just share it directly into Facebook. I'll just so you know, the first sort of 2 or 3 minutes, I'm just going to be waffling, basically, to just give people time to join and give people time for the Facebook algorithms to work and for it all to be shared into groups and whatever. So don't be put off if you, for the first minute, I'm just talking utter rubbish about the weather. I will get
That's
the
fine
point.
by me.
I'm just I'm rubarbing until we get everybody ready.
Are you signing yourself for your rhubarb moments, or Russ, are you signing for Helen flapping?
Yeah, I mean, we'll interpret. You're going to speak, aren't you? And
I'll
then
just speak, yeah.
Interpret everything. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just speak. I'll do a little wave. That's about as much of my interpreting as I'm going to do today. All right, I think we are just about ready to go live. So any last questions, panics, worries, clarifications? No? Wonderful. Oh, let me just, I have got my phone. I thought I didn't have my phone. I'll use my phone for timing. Right, it's 59. Just have a quick drink. Dun, dun, dun. I'll be interested to see how many people watch. We did, we had about 800 live on Monday, and it's been about 4,500 on catch up. So we are getting audiences, so that's good.
That's really good, yeah.
I probably shouldn't have said that. I should have said there's like 3 people watching, it'll be fine.
No, it's all right. It's fine.
Let me know as soon as you go on, Helen, so I can start.
I will. Don't worry, I will, don't worry. Right, okay, we're going to go live now. It's 59. Okay, so as soon as next time I talk, we're live, okay? Okay, we're not live yet. It takes a while for me just to, I forgot how long it takes. I have to type in a load of stuff. Oh, come on, internet. Don't let me down. Sorry, I completely forgot I have to type in this whole thing at the start.
It's all right, don't worry.
Right, okay, next time I speak, we're live. Hi, good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Mommy's Gin Fund. My name is Helen and I run Mommy's Gin Fund, and as you can tell I am joined by three rather fabulous people this morning. Next to me I have Russ, who is very generously interpreting for me this morning. Underneath me I have Kate, who is another interpreter, who is also volunteering her time to interpret today. And diagonally down from me we have John Nichols. So John is here from Get My Grades, and he is going to be here sharing his expertise and his knowledge of supporting secondary age children. So before we start, I'm just, as always, going to double check that we are live in the right place and that you can all see and hear us. So whilst we're waiting for everybody to join, if you could please say hello in the comments, let us know where you are, because this is being streamed all over the UK, so wherever you are in the country, please do say hi and let us know. And also, if you've got any questions, please do put them in the comments. Let us know how old your children are, and anything at all that you need support with. So I'm just checking we are in the right place, which is fantastic. I'm just sharing it, making sure that everybody knows that we are here. Brilliant. Okay, great. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining us. For those of you that don't know anything about Mommy's Gin Fund, my name is Helen, as I said. Mommy's Gin Fund is a Facebook group and a Facebook page. There is about 80,000 of us, I think, in total. And the aim of Mommy's Gin Fund is to kick maternal loneliness up the backside. So to try to make sure that no mum or dad is left out or left behind, and to basically hold people's hands, cheerlead them and support them through parenting. So this is one of the events that we are hosting through lockdown. How is everybody, by the way? Oh God, the reality's kicking in our house, let me tell you that. We are, shall we say stressed? Is stressed, are we allowed to use that word? Yeah, we're a little bit stressed today, mostly because of schoolwork. So I'm very, very excited to be talking to John this morning, who hopefully is going to provide me with some counselling, if nothing else. So we are going to say bye to Kate for now. So we'll see Kate in a minute. Kate and Russ are going to be taking it in turns to interpret for us this morning. So thank you, Kate, otherwise known as Jamie on her screen. Right, so John, tell us please, who are you and what are you here to support us with today?
Yeah, no problem. So as you've very kindly already said, I'm John Nichols. I'm the co-founder of Get My Grades, which is an online learning platform. So we're especially busy at this point in time. We operate all over the world, but also in the UK. And I'm also vice president of the Tutors Association, which is the national body that represents the tuition sector. So private tutors of all different kinds across the UK. And that's obviously a significant part of my work. I used to be a private tutor myself and a teacher in schools. So I've had a bit of an experience of education from every angle across my career. So yeah, and then obviously I'm here today to talk to you a bit more about the changes to the exam system and what's going on in education for the next 6 months. Part of what I'm going to say is obviously that most of it we are not 100% certain on, because things could change at any point. As we all experienced in the last few weeks.
I was just thinking when you said then, I've experienced education from all these different angles. I thought, I bet you've never done this before. You've
not quite.
Never been in lockdown before, have you?
No, not quite. Not from me personally. No, it's quite unusual that we're in this situation where no one can go to school. It's almost like wartime, and everything's completely up on its head.
And I think that is a really key thing that parents have to remember, is that we have never done this before. Nobody has ever done this before. We didn't know that it was going to happen. We've had no training for this. Yep. We've got no experience of this, and we're all just kind of clinging on by our fingertips, aren't we? And that's okay. And I think that's really important to remember.
Yes, definitely. And that's the case. Don't forget, that's the case for teachers and tutors and everyone in the whole education system as well. So if you're feeling that you're struggling, don't forget that everyone in the entire education system is also facing a situation which is extremely challenging and completely new and unforeseen. So don't worry, you're probably doing as least a good a job as almost everybody else in the education. Well,
no matter how bad you're doing, we're all doing just as bad. That's basically
it's the same for everybody. Yeah,
that's the basic point of today. Okay, right. So I can see that we're getting some comments in. So John, I'm going to hand over to you. If you don't mind just giving us a quick overview of how you think the whole exam, GCSE, A-level thing is going to pan out, obviously to the best of your current knowledge.
as far as we know.
Exactly. Whilst you're doing that, I'm just going to collate some questions ready for you to answer at the end. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Wonderful. Okay. Go for it.
Perfect. So in terms of, I mean, almost all of you who are watching this, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that schools have been closed to everyone but key workers. So the key worker list, or the critical worker list, is quite long. It includes quite a lot of different people who are involved in different aspects of national infrastructure. You can check it online if you go to gov.co.uk and you search critical workers education, it will come up. But if you're not in that critical worker list, your children will be at home with you, and you're now all of a sudden lumped with homeschooling them, which you probably didn't expect. And if you've got children that were due to take exams this year, the whole process is now completely different from what you've been expecting for all these years. So I'll tell you a bit about what's going on for the exams, because obviously that's a very key worry for a lot of people, but also I'll tell you a little bit about what's happening in education generally. So if your child was due to do GCSE or A-level exams this year, or any other kind of examination, public examination, they will be now given a centre assessment grade, okay? That means that the centres, the schools, or in some cases the exam centres if they're separate to a school, will be giving your children a grade based on their attainment to date, okay? The qualifications will still be awarded. Okay, they should in theory still be the same and have the same weight as qualifications in the past. So your child should not be in any way disadvantaged. That's the theory. Okay, but there will be no exams taking place in the summer of this year. Okay, and it's almost impossible to imagine that that decision will be reversed. And there will be exams taking place early next year instead. Okay, at the earliest available opportunity is what the government has said. So how will those assessment grades be provided? I think that's one of the key questions on lots of people's minds. Your child's been preparing very, very hard for these GCSEs and A-levels, which everyone's been telling them are critically important, and they are. And now they're not happening, which is obviously a bit of a crazy situation for your child, and certainly for you as well. So what schools are going to do, they've been instructed by Ofqual, which is the body which regulates qualifications in the UK. They've been instructed to rank the students in each cohort in order of how the teachers in that school expect they would have attained at the end of the year. It's not going to be the decision of one individual teacher. So if your maths teacher is someone that you think doesn't particularly like your child, that's not going to, shouldn't make much of a difference, because it will be done on a whole department basis in each school. So all of the maths teachers in a school are going to go through and try and rank all of the GCSE maths students, for example, and the same for the other subjects. They'll try and rank them according to how well they think each child will have done if they went through and did the exams at the end of the year. And they'll rank them in order from top to bottom in terms of attainment. And they will then try and mark where in that ranking they think the grade boundaries would be. So these are the children they think would get a grade 9, because don't forget we're in the 9-to-1 grading system now. These are the children we think will get a grade 8, grade 7, and so on, okay? Now, those grades will then be submitted to the exam boards for a process of standardization. Okay, I should add at this point, the schools have been strictly instructed, not to tell parents or students what those grades will be. So please don't bother asking your school. They will only be very disappointed in not being able to tell you anything. If they do tell you anything, they're breaking all the rules. So I don't know necessarily if that's a great idea. Yeah, the schools have been instructed, don't tell anything to parents and students. Okay, so you won't hear anything from the school about this. Okay, the other side of it is, what is that grade going to be based on? It's not going to be based on any one thing. Okay, so it's not going to be just a mock result. or at least it shouldn't be just a mock result. Okay, it will not be just the average of all the homeworks they've done. It should take into account everything that the students have done and whatever data the school has available over the past, especially the recent history of that child's education. Okay, if your child has been doing particularly well recently and did a bit worse in the past, that doing particularly well recently should in theory be reflected in the grade that they're given. Okay, obviously there will be a number of appeals to this process, we expect. We don't know quite how that's going to work yet, but the government has said that there will be something in place, and we'll find out in due course. So in terms of the qualifications themselves, okay, what's going to happen is those centre assessment grades are going to be sent off to the exam boards, and the exam boards will go through a standardisation process. No one is exactly sure exactly what it will look like. There is a standardization process that goes on every year when they set grade boundaries. But what it will mean is that they might modify the results in some schools up or down a little bit if they think the school has been too harsh or too generous. They will not change the rank order within the school. You won't know what that rank order is anyway, because the schools won't tell you, but they will only adjust the grade boundaries within the school itself. So if the school submits the students ranked up 1 to 100, let's say, for example, okay, they might say, well, actually, no, we don't think that all of the students from number 1 to number 20 should get a grade 9. It should only be from number 1 to number 10. And then they might adjust the grade boundaries, but the rank order will stay the same.
So John, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Can I just, when you say rank the children, you
Yes.
mean like get all the children in the class and
Yes.
the best in inverted commas performing child is number 1 and the
That's
least
correct.
well performing child is number 30.
100 or whatever it is.
So so they'll be put in order from the child who is achieving the best down to the child who's achieving the least. And then once they're in that line, then you will decide, right, the first 8 get an A or whatever it's called now.
That's
the next
right.
10 get a B or, okay, good.
Yeah.
Just
so it will be done it will be numerical grades, because obviously we're in the 9 to 1 grading system, but yeah, the same sort
We're
of
not in the
principle
90s anymore. Yeah.
Absolutely. But that's exactly how it works. And it will be done by cohort. It won't be done by individual class. So it will be the school for every single entry for GCSE maths, say, or for GCSE English or science. Every single entry will be put in a rank order together. So they won't do it by class. They'll have to put all the classes together and then do it by entire cohort. So every single GCSE maths student that was going to sit an exam will be in that ranking system. So for most, the average UK school has about 100 students, 120 students in a year group. Let's say they're all doing GCSE maths, there'll be 120 students in that rank order from all the classes. Okay,
great.
The schools have got quite a lot of leeway in exactly how they put students into that rank order. If you want to know anything about how they're doing it, you could try and ask them, but I wouldn't recommend it because they probably won't tell you anything. And that's probably deliberate on their part. So they basically don't have their hands tied and they've been told not to tell parents. So that's how the grades are going to be awarded. There will be an opportunity for students to complete exams at the earliest opportunity. We expect that to be autumn, probably November. If students do choose to take exams, then they get to pick the higher of the 2 grades. So if you do better in your exam, fine, you get to keep the exam grade. Okay, great. So if you think your school's graded your child too harshly, they can go and do the exam, get a better grade, all is fine. If they do worse in the exam than their centre assessment grade, they get to keep the centre assessment grade. So there's no downside to doing an exam in autumn, okay?
It's such a relief, because can you imagine the pressure of trying to make that decision of like, okay, the school has decided that I'm a C. I don't know whatever 7, 6. I cannot.
Grade 4 now. Grade 4.
Numbers. Okay, 4. So the school gives you a 4.
Grade 4 is a pass.
And then it's a bit like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Like, do you answer the next question, or do you keep the money that you've got in the pocket? So that's really reassuring. So whatever grade they get, they can resit at some point in the future, so they can sit the exam, and then whichever is the higher of the 2 grades, they get to keep that.
That's what we've been told so far by the government.
That's very reassuring. So that's good.
The one thing to point out there, though, obviously, is that A-level students, their grades in particular are going to affect where they go for university, if they're applying to university or possibly for employment. And obviously, for many GCSE students, their grades may be determining whether they get into a college of choice. If your grade is going to determine progression, okay, universities and colleges have been told to be aware and to try and be accommodating for students that are obviously going to be in this difficult situation. You can't really pull out the stops at the last minute now, because schools might well choose not to take too much account of any work that you produce now or your child produces now, because obviously they don't know if you've just, I don't know, produced loads of work that's because your brother who's done an engineering degree has helped you out, right? So they're not going to take too much account of it now. So now you think, oh my goodness me, how can I drag up my grade because I really wanted to get into university XYZ? The answer is there's not much you can do, but I would suggest the best thing for you to do is start preparing now for what you're going to say to the university when the results are released. Every university and college will have lots of students coming to them saying, I've been given grade 5 for the sake of argument. I needed grade 6 to get in, but please, please, please let me in anyway, because I'm sure I would have worked really, really hard and got a grade 6 or grade 7 or grade 9.
This is my biggest fear. I am one of those students. Like, if this had happened to me in my A-levels, I am one of those students who, I am a massive exam buff. I love doing exams. I'm really good at exams. So I would have been that student that basically did no work whatsoever for 2 weeks and then turned up in the exam for 2 years, then turned up in the exam and got a really good grade. And I've always got away with that. But God, if I really feel for those students who are like me, who were waiting for the exam to you know, show off their knowledge, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I should have done that homework for the last 2 years. Oh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what we would suggest is, first of all, education can't really stop anyway. If you're going on to an A-level or university course in September, which we are presuming is going to go ahead, we can't promise anything in this current climate, but let's assume it is, okay, then don't forget, those courses are going to build on what you've already been learning. So we would very, very strongly recommend, do not stop your education and do not just go, oh, well, exams have been cancelled, I give up, I'm not going to do anything for 6 months, it's a holiday. Do not do that. Try and work as hard as you can, or encourage your children, for most people obviously watching this, encourage your children to work as hard as they can, to ensure that if they don't get the grade allocated that they want, that they can go to the college or university and say, look, I've been working really, really, really hard as though my exam was going to take place. And that's why you should give me the place. Because even if my school didn't give me the grade, look at all this stuff I've done in the last 6 months. I'm ready to do this. I really want your university place. I really want to study biology, chemistry, physics, maths, art, design, media, whatever it is at university, college. I really want to do this. I've been working really hard. Because don't forget, universities are going to get a lot of people come to them and say, please, please, please let me in. If you don't have any evidence for that, the answer will probably, in all fairness, be no, because there'll be plenty of people out there who will be given, who will be trying really hard in whatever fashion. And it's the effort that I think universities are going to recognize and colleges are going to recognize when we come to September and they suddenly have to make these very difficult decisions about who do we let in, given they didn't have exams. And so if you're the student that thinks I was relying on those exams to drag up my grade, please, please, please focus and work as hard as you can on basically producing your own portfolio for the subjects of interest. Produce your own portfolio, do it off your own back. No one's going to necessarily force you as a student. And obviously, for parents, encourage your children. If you want to do this, it's up to you now, right? You go away, you do the work and prove that you should get that place. Then when it comes to applying to that college, university, if you do end up having difficult conversations, it will make your life a whole lot easier. And it will make your course a whole lot easier as well, because you'll be ready for it. You won't be 6 months rusty.
Because if the university's got 2 applicants, one of whom spent 3 months sunbathing and on the Xbox, and one of whom spent 3 months, you know, reading and working and doing the best that they can, then it's pretty obvious which one they're going to choose, isn't it?
Completely. And that's the situation universities are going to be in and colleges are going to be in come September.
Yeah. But also the thing to remember is, again, for our young people, for our children, because ultimately they are children, that actually this is happening to all the children in the country. So it's not like you've done something, or you slept in and missed your exam, or you didn't do anything wrong to make this happen. And this is happening to all the children. So it's not like if you're applying for an apprenticeship, for example, and the employer is not going to look at your application form and say, well, hold on a minute, why didn't you sit your exam? Because it's going to be the same for everybody. So it's, try your best, but also remember that, this is happening to the whole of the country, not only you. So yeah. Okay.
I mean, the only thing I'd add to that is, don't forget, it's a great lesson for students in what do you do when things are not going quite according to plan and are going a bit wrong. Okay, are you going to really seize it and try and do something about it to make it as positive an outcome as you can, to do as much as you can about it regardless? Or are you just going to give up and go, oh, you know what, it's a bit hard, I'm going to go and have a holiday? And if you do think, oh, I'm just going to go and have a holiday, then do you really want to do that course? Is that really actually a good test of how much did you want to do what you were planning on? If it was just, oh, all my friends were going to college, so I thought it'd be a good thing to do, and you're not really that motivated and bothered about trying to get in, actually that's probably done you a favor in that you probably shouldn't go. Get a job in September if that's your situation. Whereas if you actually think, oh my goodness me, I'm so terrified I might not get in, well, great, this is the chance for you to really pull out the stops and make sure you do.
But that's a really important point, because I think a lot of adults at the moment are really doing that, reassessing our lives. We're really thinking, am I in the right job? Do I live in the right place? When we get released from lockdown, do I want to go back to the life that I had before? Or actually, is this an opportunity for me to start that business I've always wanted to start, or to go back to studying, or to take some time off
very much
with the kids? So actually, I think you've just made a really good point there, that actually, if you are a young person and you're suddenly thinking, oh God, this is all too much, or actually, I don't really want to go to university, or maybe I'm not really quite sure what I want to do. When all this corona has finished, go traveling, for God's sake. Take a year off, go around the world, get a job, try something new, do something different. Like you said, this is a great opportunity to actually step off this sort of hamster wheel that we've all been on. Especially when you're in education, everything is focused, what have you got to do next? What have you got to do next? What have you got to do next? So actually, this might be quite a nice opportunity to think, actually, what do I really genuinely want to do next? So like you said, it might not be a really awful thing for everybody. There might be some students out there who are like, actually, that saved me wasting, 3 years and a lot of money doing a degree that I didn't want to do.
Perhaps. Or made you really super focused that you realized you did want to do it. In which case you now know the value of that, and you can do that. And yeah, it will definitely make that, and you're absolutely right, it will apply to a lot of adults as well. Yeah.
Okay, are we ready for some questions?
Yeah, by all means, fire away.
Brilliant. Okay, so thank you. I hope everybody watching found that useful. I definitely did. So thank you, John, for all of that really useful information. And just to say, as John said, situation is changing all the time. So please do, if you've got any specific questions, please do check with your school or your exam board, and just, be really sure of the exact facts, because they're changing all the time. Okay, brilliant. So we've got some questions. We've got lots of people watching. So hi, everybody. Right, so question number 1. What do we do with the child who really doesn't want to do their schoolwork? How do we encourage our children, especially our younger children? So I'm thinking, our year 7s, year 8s, year 9s. I may have written this question. How do we get our kids to do the work?
Right. So the first thing is that the way schools are responding to this is very different. There is no one particular way that schools are approaching it. And as we said at the beginning, it's different for schools. Schools weren't ready for this either. In most cases, they're scrabbling around trying to work out what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. Because they've still got, don't forget, critical worker children on site, which they have to do something with. And they still obviously then have all these students that are supposed to be doing the curriculum, but aren't really probably doing it. So first thing is, your school may have something in place, and that might give you a starting point. Okay, if they've got something in place that's really organized, great, you can try and fall back on that a bit. If they don't, we're going to go through the rest of the answer as though they have nothing or it's not working at all, right? But every school is going to be different. Check with your school. So if your school's not really provided much that's of substance, or it's not really working at all with your child, the first thing is to really work out what is your child going to be motivated to do. Okay, what is going to motivate them? And I'm not just talking about like chocolate or sweets or pocket money. That's really not the way forward. But what does your child want to do? What would they want to spend their time doing in the long run? Because, I mean, not just Fortnite and Xbox or whatever it is, because that will get boring pretty quickly. I mean, even if it's a few days, you need to really have a conversation with them about what do you want to do in 6, 9, 12 months time, 5 years time. And you don't have to plan their entire career out for them now. That's not going to happen anyway. But really try and get them to take a bit of a longer term view of when you go back, what do you want it to be like? And when things start to get a bit back to normal, what do you want it to be like? This is the first time they're probably ever going to have had those conversations anyway, at least as seriously as this. So first of all, try that tack. The second thing is there are plenty of things you can do to try and make sure you just get in a routine. And it doesn't necessarily need to be intensively academic, at least in the first instance, okay? As long as you get them into a routine of doing something productive, that's really great progress. And if you're a parent out there thinking, goodness me, what am I going to do? I've got to still work from home and all this other stuff. Try and get your child into a routine where they're just doing something useful. And then once you've put in a lot of effort to get that routine in place, and it will probably be a lot of effort to put it in place, let's be honest, putting routines and habits in place is hard. If you can persevere and do it as a team, it'll be well worth it. And then it doesn't matter if it's chores, if it's that they're just going to do a lot of exercise because they really want to, because they're willing and able to do that. If it's that they're actually going to do reading, or they're actually going to do some form of studying or some form of work from their school, great. There might be other things you could do. You might choose to get a tutor to give them a bit of work every week and set them off on the right path. And actually that might work well if they've got a third person that's not you imposing a little bit of what the plan is. It can be really, really helpful. In my experience, many people have in the past got tutors, even if for only a small amount of time a week, just to do that. Really, can you make sure they actually do something? And that's fine. So yeah, try and put a routine in place. Try and motivate them by drawing out what it is they want to do in the longer run. And then it doesn't really matter in the first instance. Once the routine is in place, you can then put in different activities that maybe they're not their favorite thing. Don't try and put in English, maths, science, and the full academic timetable on day one. It's a disaster waiting to happen unless you are a teacher of all those different subjects, and that's probably unlikely for most people.
Brilliant. Yes, I am not qualified in any of those things.
No problem.
Hence the reason why my kids have mostly been playing in the garden for the last 3 weeks. Right.
Okay.
So, parents like me that have got children of lots of different ages. So I am still at the stage I'm trying to stop my 3-year-old from drinking the paint. I've got a 7-year-old who just wants to watch TV. I've got a 10-year-old who's supposed to be doing the 11 plus, who is freaking out. And then I've got a 12-year-old who goes to the grammar school, so is getting sent like a full-on curriculum every day, you know, lessons to be handed in at 9:45. You have to email in your answer book. And so I seem to have like, you know, one of all strands. So what advice would you give to parents like me who have got lots of, or even just more than one child? How the hell do we do that? Please.
Right. Your starting point is going to be some kind of routine. There is a reason why schools are organized with everyone going to a lesson from this time to this time, because it can bring some order to what would otherwise be total chaos. Okay, you are now experiencing turning your house into a small school. You have students of all different ages. You have relatively limited adult resources to cope with them all. Okay, get a routine in place. Make sure that there's a house timetable. Everyone from 10 till 11 is going to do activity 1, and it can be different for whoever, but everyone's going to do activity 1. So there's some commonality, so that there is some kind of structure to what's going on. If you don't have that, you're going to get people finishing activity at one point, going off and doing their own thing. I want a snack, I want this. And if you don't have anything to pull them back to and go, this is the plan, follow the plan. okay, then children will just go off and do their own thing, and it will just descend into chaos very, very quickly, and you'll feel bad about yourself. And it's kind of a natural, that's how things naturally would evolve. If you can try and impose a routine, it doesn't matter so much in the first place what those activities are. If everyone's just in the garden doing star jumps for the first half an hour, they're all in the garden doing star jumps for the first half an hour, that's structure. That's a great achievement, right? I'm very, very impressed for anyone that has got all of their children of different ages in the garden doing some form of exercise for half an hour from 10 to 11 to 10:30, right? That's great. Then you can do maybe 10:45 to 11:30 of something else. Everyone's going to sit down and read a book, and maybe you sit with your youngest child and you read with them, or so older children can obviously do it themselves. And if you've got particularly young children that can't read at all, obviously they can just go and do something else that's fun, like, I don't know, chewing a toy or something, okay, safely. But just have some kind of structure. In the first instance, don't worry too much about what the activity is, okay? Get the structure in place first, then start worrying about what the activities are once you've got that bit down. Once you've got a structure, then start worrying about what exactly is it we're doing.
Okay. As long as there's some form of tea break / wine break throughout the day.
You put the structure is, don't forget, you're now the head teacher, right? You get to pick.
Oh,
you get to
yes.
decide.
I think I might need to join some kind of union so I can go on strike. That'd be good. Right, so that brings me nicely onto my next question. And don't forget, guys, if you're watching, please do type your questions in. I can see there's lots of you there, so don't be shy. Mental health, stress, pressure. For the kids who are scared of getting left behind and not keeping up, for the parents who are going to have a nervous breakdown, trying to, you know, stay on top of everything, what advice do you have for us?
So, again, if you can put in any kind of structure, that's going to really, really, really help, because you can say for the children themselves, let's take their mental health to start off. If they're going to be stressed and worried, if they're in year 11 or year 13 and they would have had exams coming up, they're going to be stressed and worried about now everything's outside of their control. If it's outside of their control, be really clear with them. It's outside your control now. That part of it is, but there's things you can still do. So as we discussed before, you can get them, I mean, for example, you can get them on Get My Grades to do the work themselves. All of the content and the questions are there. You could use their other resources. They don't have access to the internet. You could, or if they're going to just be working away on a portfolio because that's what they really like and that's what they really want to go and study in future or do in future, just say to them, look, things are outside of your control, leave them. Yeah. Coronavirus is outside of your control. You're not going to fix it all by yourself, okay? That doesn't mean you can't do anything at all. Go and do something that you can affect. If you really want to do this in future, what can you do that will help you get there? If you really want to go and study art in a college somewhere, okay, do whatever art you want to do there now, right? Start practicing now. Whatever it is you want to do when you go to college or university, start doing it now, okay? This is going to be great, obviously, for identifying what their real motivations are, if they really wanted to do that course. But it also means that they've got some sort of purposeful direction, and hopefully a purposeful direction where you don't really need to drag them through it. You just need to prod them in the right direction and let them keep going. Or at least keeping on the path is easier than trying to drag them through something. And if you're a parent, this is where things get very stressful for parents, when you feel as though you need to pull your student through to something. I mean, for younger children, that can often be the case. They might not necessarily want to do things that they really do need to do. I'm a parent myself. I completely get it. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, sometimes it's hard work. But if they're a bit older, certainly by that stage, you can start just giving them some direction and letting them do things themselves. They're going to grow into adults one day where you can't determine what they're going to do, right? Let them start growing up a little bit now. Okay, under your guidance and supervision, give them some direction. Say, look, it's up to you now. Whatever you want to do, it's a chance. Okay, and rephrase it in a positive way where it's an opportunity for them to do what it is they want, to actually use the time productively. They're stuck at home. They've probably got access to some kind of internet access some of the time. There's lots they could potentially access and do.
Because I think
yeah.
one thing
No, right.
that it's important to remember, which is easy to forget, is that actually at school they have breaks. And
they do.
You're not at school from like 6:30 in the morning until 8:30 at night, which is, you know, the time that most of our kids
Your children are awake for.
Well, my kids are up from about 6 till about 10 at night, 6 in the morning till 10 at night. But that's a whole other Facebook Live to fix that.
Yes.
But I think what I'm trying to do with my year 8, who, like I said, is at the grammar school, so she's getting quite a lot of, you know, obviously they're used to working at a high level, fast-paced high level, and the school are desperately trying not to let that slip, which is great, but it's a lot of pressure. So what I keep trying to remind her is, when you're at school, you have a break, and in between lessons you walk from one classroom to the next classroom. So I'm trying to stop her from just sitting from like 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock without any kind of break. So every now and again I will just walk around the house, gather up children and kick them into the garden, and like, you're not allowed to come in for at least half an hour.
That's absolutely fine.
Just break and let your brain kind of breathe, and, you know, generally refresh yourself, and also have dinner breaks and proper breaks throughout the day, and also finish at a reason. You know, after 3:30 screens are on. In fact, to be honest with you, screens are on all day, but, you know, after 3:30 I'm going to stop fighting you about your screen, because that's the end of work in our house.
Yeah, and that's fine. Whatever structure you choose to put in place, don't forget, you're the boss. You get to put in place the structure now, and it will take a little bit of fighting to put that structure in place, but you can be very flexible about what is being done. If the school's obviously sending quite a lot of stuff through, great. You can just say it's kind of ready-made activities for that particular child or those children. But yeah, you put in place a structure, have something in place, and just, it doesn't matter. Don't worry too much about exactly what they're doing. Everyone's in the same boat.
Exactly. Lovely. Good. Okay, so I've got 2 more quick questions for you, and then I think we're going to come to the end. So guys, if you're watching, well, not if you're watching, I know you're watching, I can see you all out there. If you've got a question for John, please post it now, because we're only going to be here for about another 10-15 minutes. So John, I've got 2 questions for you. One is a very quick one. 11 plus. It just happening as normal in September, as far as we know?
We have no knowledge or understanding of how 11 plus is changing at the moment. I've heard nothing from various people that I speak to about it. So yeah, we're assuming at the moment that 11 plus will be continuing as normal. So the message for anyone that whose children would be sitting 11 plus is, like with your other children, education to continue as normal as far as possible. Put in place a structure first, then try and provide whatever educational resources you can. We do offer on the Get My Grades platform 11 plus content that they can work through online and at home in their own time. So English and maths. You can obviously put in place your own stuff. If you want to get a tutor to help with that for a bit, then you can by all means do that. If you do get a tutor, I would recommend you check that they are a member of the Tutors Association, because obviously then they've signed up to a code of conduct, they have a DBS check, and they've generally had access to online tuition training, so they actually know what they're doing. But yeah, 11 plus should be going ahead as normal. If it changes, it'll be a surprise to all of us.
God, let's hope not. Right, last question from me. Hi everybody who's watching. Hi Sophie. Hi everybody. Right, this may have also been written by me. My child is in year 8, and we have reached that stage where her homework is too difficult for me. I don't know the answers. I can't remember how at the moment she's working out the area of a cylinder. That's her current project, and she said, "Mommy, can you remind me how to work out the area of a cylinder?" And I went, "No, the only thing I can remember is you need the area of the top, the area of the bottom, and times it by the height, but how you work out the circle, I can't remember." Anyway, what do we do in those situations where our kids are at home and, you know, I'm not a qualified teacher, I don't know the answer, help?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's been some really interesting internet memes going around which have been echoing exactly this sentiment, that suddenly parents up and down the country are expected to be physics, English, chemistry, maths, art, music teachers all in one go, and goodness me, it's relatively tough because you can't be an expert in so many different things at the same time. First of all, don't worry, you're not the only one. All parents are in that situation, even the music teachers out there and the maths teachers. Okay, they aren't experts in all of those other fields as well, don't forget. So you'll be good at other stuff, okay, but maybe that's not your area, and don't worry about that. What can you do about it? So many online resources, Get My Grades is included in that, but obviously there's loads of stuff out there. The BBC provides stuff as well. There's loads of online resources where they can go and get the answers to some of these straightforward questions. I know, for example, the questions in our platform actually come with the feedback immediately afterwards, so that they always have that available to them. So if they're studying and they're going through and they get stuck, just tell them to give it their best shot and put in an answer, and they'll get the feedback straight away. If it's work that's been set by their school and it's not through a platform like ours, which provides feedback, then the similar sort of principle applies, but the feedback is going to be delayed until their teacher can get back to them. And in all honesty, that's not ideal, because their teacher might be a bit under stress at the moment themselves. So the feedback might not come very quickly. And please be understanding of the teachers who are working in difficult conditions, trying to make sure this all works. But yeah, the most important thing is, if you're not sure, just say, look, this is quite a specific area. I mean, there's even stuff in primary school English that is beyond most parents, in all fairness. So I would not be...
I mean, my 10-year-old is like, she's like, what the hell is a fronted adverbial? Like, I don't even know. She comes to me, Mum, I need to put 3 conjunctions in my sentence. I'm like, okay, good luck.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember. I'm sure I wasn't taught stuff like this, but I definitely don't remember. And the maths, like, you're not carrying over numbers anymore. Where does this number go? Like, I'm like, write it up top. No, we don't write it up top, Mummy. Okay, write it down. No, we don't write it at the bottom. I'm like holding this like number 7 in my hand. I don't know where to put it. Like, what the hell?
It happens. And don't forget, many methods have changed. The content of the courses and the curriculum has, in many cases, changed over the past several years. Even relatively young parents will still be surprised to see that many of the things they thought were on the GCSE course, or they thought were on the Year 7, are very different now, perhaps. And
Never felt as stupid as I felt in the last month.
A good way of trying to get around it is, if your child has actually got some understanding of it, get them to teach it to you first. They might actually spit out the answer they just didn't spot it. So if they are asking for help and they really don't understand what to do, it's a good way of you teaching them basically how to tackle problems you don't really know. So first of all, they can try and teach it to you. You might then be able to spot something in their answer, which is, I think that's what you need, and be able to give them their own answer back, if you like. Otherwise, teach them how to go and investigate and solve problems that they don't actually know the answer to, because we all have to do this. But things like teaching children how to effectively use Google, or how to effectively use other resources. How do you use a book? There are children that don't know how to use contents and indexes in a book. Yeah, contents page and an index. And maybe, I mean, it's not going to be something you're going to sit down for hours and do with them, but maybe that's something that you just need to say, look, you've got a textbook your school has given you with all this information in. Why don't you look at it? Or why don't you search this website that you've got access to? Or why don't you search the internet? Okay, so in most cases, some of this stuff will be easy for you to help them fix themselves. And when they learn how to fix it themselves, then you've done really well, because then when they come to you for the next problem, you say, what did we do last time? And they replicate the same process of problem solving. And ideally, they can reach the answer themselves without too much input, because let's be honest, they're going to grow into adults. And when they're adults, they need to be able to solve problems themselves without you being there to help them. So let's start now.
Me not knowing the answer is actually really helping them. It's for their own benefit.
Precisely. Yeah. It's not for you just to tell them the answers. It's for them to work it out and to find out.
So I'm just going to pretend I don't know the answer, because obviously I really do. I know all the answers. I'm just pretending just for their own benefit.
It's a classic teacher trick. A classic teacher trick to spin the question round on the student if they start asking something that's too tricky, especially for students that ask particularly wacky questions or off the beaten track.
Now's the time I wish I had Alexa. I could just say, ask Alexa. She knows.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. I'm just going to have a quick scroll through, just check for any last...
any last minute urgent questions?
We had a question about, when are the exam results going to come out? Are they still going to come out on the 20th of August?
We've been told that they will come out on or before the date they would have otherwise come out, so that on the 20th of August or thereabouts. So they come out normally a week earlier for A levels. What we're expecting realistically is that we'll get results by mid-August, possibly a little bit before, because don't forget, there'll be a whole appeals process created for this, and no doubt that appeals process will be well used, I should imagine, given the circumstances. They are going to want to give themselves time to process some of those appeals before people are supposed to be going to college, university, wherever. I don't really know. No one really knows exactly what that appeal process is going to look like yet. We've been in touch with the Department of Education. They don't know yet anyway themselves. But there will be something in place, and they will want to give themselves enough time to be able to process that. They know that obviously it's going to be very different for all of the people that are processing the grades at the sort of who are admitting or choosing which students to allow in, and it's going to be a bit messy in August. They probably want to give themselves extra time to do that. So I don't think they're going to hang around. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we got results by early August, but no date has been given yet.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Don't forget, there's no exam papers to mark.
Ah, yes.
There's no exam papers to mark or moderate. Basically, they're just going to be doing a statistical analysis on all the rankings that they get given from schools. So in theory, it shouldn't be too difficult for them to do it earlier.
Brilliant. Right. Wow. Oh, I don't know if I feel better. No, I do. I feel much better. Thank you. I do feel a lot better.
You're welcome. No, I'm glad.
I feel much better. So, just before we go, do you want to just spend a couple of minutes just telling us about Get My Grades, what it is that you actually offer?
Yeah, by all means. So I created it several years ago. We've got a small team of us now, and my wife helped me with it as well. So basically, Get My Grades is an online learning platform which covers English, maths, and then there's science content going up now as well, across year 5 to year 11. And what it effectively does, it offers online textbook material plus a whole range of different questions and assessment material. So there's questions such as essay-based questions, mathematical questions. Basically, we tried to put in place all sorts of questions you would get on an exam or on a real assignment that teachers would set. So teachers can use it, tutors can use it, parents can sign up on our website. Just go to getmygrades.co.uk. So it provides all the resources. It's ideal for homeschooling. So we're obviously very busy because many people are looking to use it for that. And it's ideal because it provides the whole curriculum structure for you. You can select the qualification that you want your child to be studying towards, and you can just track them without being invasive. So you're not constantly having to ask them, are they doing anything? You can check, and then you can only need to prompt them when you know they're really taking their foot off the pedal, perhaps, or where they're not doing the things they said they were going to be doing. But yeah, so it's a curriculum platform which allows people to set the work and review it.
Fantastic. So we'll put the links in the comments.
No problem.
And please do hang about if you want to put anything in the comments yourself as well, John. Like, if people have got questions, if they're watching on catch up maybe, and they've got questions, please do put them in the comments, and we will make sure somebody gets back to you. So all that remains to say is just massive thank you to Russell, massive thank you to Kate, massive thank you to John as well. All three of them have volunteered their time for free this morning to enable you guys to get as much information as we can for supporting our secondary age children. Because I don't know about you guys, but there's been so much online for toddlers and younger children. So it's fantastic to have the opportunity to talk about our older children as well. So thank you very much to everybody for watching. Thank you very much for all your questions, which I've been able to ask on your behalf. And thank you for joining Mummy's Gin Fund. We are back on Friday with the wonderful sing-along Sally. She's doing a toddler music class. And next week, we've got a whole range of events. We've got a pregnancy Q&A. So if you're pregnant during Corona and you're worried about something, we'll have some advice there. Just check our events tab and you can see everything that's happening. So once again, massive thank you to everybody, especially to our interpreters and to John, and we will be back next week. Thank you very much. Bye everyone. And we've stopped. Hooray! Yay! Well done everybody. Thank you very much. Oh, that was really good. That was so good. Thank you.
Good. We covered pretty much everything I think that we hoped to cover, but hopefully it was what people were looking for, really. How many people did we have on? Do you know?
22 I saw when I looked on my phone.
Oh, I wasn't logged in on it or looking.
1,250.
Oh my goodness. Well done.
Wow.
Yeah, Zoom, if you look at it, and I can see behind the thing. Yeah, if you when you're on Zoom or when you're on Facebook, it has a little eye in the corner. It tells you how many
Yeah.
people, and I could see that as well. It said 22, 23. And I was like, that's not right. So, but when I go into Mommy's Gin Fund now, there was 1,000, just over 1,200 live.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
That's really good. Yeah, well done.
Brilliant. So that will go up and up throughout the day as people watch on catch up. But I found that really, really useful. I don't know about anybody else, but I thought it was brilliant.
Good. I'm glad it's been helpful. Hopefully, a lot of people are finding it useful. Hopefully, we've done a good enough job that they don't come back with too many other questions. But I'm very happy to answer other questions if people come back with stuff, or if we need to, we can arrange another one if there's a lot of queries or there's a new major announcement or something.
Yeah, thank you. So we had 17 shares. So people have been sharing it off into other groups.
Good.
Yeah, so it was good. We didn't get any. We've got very few live comments. To be honest, though, that's quite common because I think people are just watching and listening.
So maybe that means it was extra good. We must have covered everything. There wasn't anything to ask. They're like, oh yeah, I was gonna. Oh no, and that. Yeah, and that.
Covered what they were thinking about. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we had a few people just sort of saying hello, and then a couple of people saying that their children were actually doing much better in lockdown than normally because they struggle at school. So one of my friends wrote that. She's got 2 children. Oh, my phone's just run out of battery. She's got 2 children with autism, and I know that they're finding it much easier at home. They're really enjoying being at home rather than at school. So, yeah,
it's a more controlled environment, especially if you've got autistic children or children that are borderline ASD. If you've got a structured environment at home that's catering for them, then they're much happier with it. And as long as there's no, because children are sources of disturbance and chaos on their own, right? So autistic children do very often find it is very, very disruptive and unsettling to be in an environment with lots of their peers.
Yeah,
because their peers generally cause chaos, and that's not what they like. And they're not very accommodating for it. So yeah, I can just completely imagine.
Yeah, my son's borderline autistic. Well, we're waiting for an assessment. I think he is autistic, and he's absolutely loving being at home. And he's also got a hearing loss, so he's really enjoying just being able to hear what's happening and knowing what's going on and having like communication in his eye line rather than a teacher on the other side of the room. So he's absolutely loving it. He doesn't want to go back.
Yeah, my son's the same, although I think he does miss his friends a bit now. He's getting to the point where he's now saying, oh, I really want to see my friends. But yeah, he's a bit borderline in some places, and so I think he is really enjoying the structure at home because we've tried to provide him with some structure. Obviously, I've tried to follow my own advice, and yeah, he's got some structure most of the time, which is good for him. And my wife's been great as well. She's got tadpoles for him, little butterflies. She's turned into a primary school. I think as well as doing her job as well, which is amazing.
Yeah, I think my son was exactly the same. I mean, he's had to very abruptly end primary school. He's about to go to secondary school.
Is he year 6?
Oh, is he one of the year 6s?
Yeah, he was. So there was no, goodbye or presentation like they were planning. It was just a quick, you're not going to go to school and see your friends again. So it was all a bit weird.
Gosh.
But, yeah, he was very, when we told him, look, your school's going to be closed, his first response was, yes, that's going to make my life so much easier. Of course, children are very egocentric and never see the big picture. So, of course, I explained to him that that wouldn't make me and his mother's life much easier as 2 self-employed people.
Yes.
And I said, and the same thing that's cancelling school is the same thing that's going to cancel the ski trip, and other things. And yeah, and now he's hoping to go. I mean, me and Joanna have been told, Christy, because we can actually be considered key workers because we're going out. A lot of our work is interpreting in health settings, healthcare settings. So the school have said, you can send Christy to school, but we're just deciding what we want to do about that at the moment. But yeah, it's they get bored, and it's not. He's realizing that it's not the most exciting thing to be off school.
I think you're right about the structure thing. The thing that messed us up with structure was the Easter holidays. They're like, well, hang on a minute, we've just got the hang of doing. You go for a walk and then you do your reading and then you do. Hang on, why are we not doing any of these things anymore? So we've had quite a short Easter holiday. We did Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Easter holiday, and now we're going to loosely do a bit of learning. But their favourite thing so far has just been pick a topic and find out some stuff about it. So mine have done.
Great. No, that's great.
Yeah, they've done the woods, they've done Statue of Liberty, and today's topic is Titanic. Their suggestions, so we're just going with it.
Brilliant.
Watch the film.
No, that's brilliant.
We did. We watched the film last night. I thought they were going to talk. I thought there was going to be a bit of a, why are so many people dead? But the main issue they had was, why are they mean to the poor people? I was like, oh, okay, we can talk about that instead. So that's what we've been doing.
It's a really interesting introduction into Edwardian society, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah. But that was my 6-year-old, and the things she picked up are totally different from the 8.5-year-old as well, which was really interesting. Their reactions to the whole Corona thing, and specifically to Titanic's issues.
I would say though, if that is the key point they got from Titanic, they are pretty cool kids. That's
Alice, Princess Alice. Of course, that's what she went for.
I do know Princess Alice, and I think if her number one concern is equality, and I think that's the kind of girl I want in my future society.
That's the one.
You mentioned when we were live, and this has been really the case for me. I talking about when all of this goes back to normal, what kind of normal do we want? So my life feels like I'm a parent, I work full time, I'm doing a doctorate degree, and I feel like a hamster on a wheel. I leave the house at whatever time, between 7 and 8, and it's literally like being shot out of a cannon, and I'm like until I arrive home. I'm in 4 different locations. I manage the building where I live because I own part of the freehold, and I've realized, having had a bit of a slower pace, that at 50 things have got to change. I don't want to go back to that insanity anymore. I can live on less. I don't need to be doing, cramming every single thing. And I think my greatest strength is my time management skills. I'm very good at time management, but I don't make it work in my favor. I create this
extra,
and then I put extra things in.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to go back to the way it was before. And I've really enjoyed, the kind of bit more sedentary, I'm being productive every day, but instead of cramming 14 hours in, I've been working on my thesis and doing a bit of volunteering, doing a bit of remote interpreting, and the rest of the time I've been reading in the sun.
Oh, not reading the sun, I hope.
No, reading in the sun.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so
living the dream.
Yeah.
That's like Louis. He manages. He's a property developer. He works for property developers, and he's managing this massive project, like huge, massive team of people. It's like really, really stressful. And last night he was Googling starting a mushroom farm. He wants to give up work and start a mushroom farm and grow. Those really posh, funny-looking mushrooms that you get in like posh places.
The chanterelle ones. Oh, there you go.
Funny-looking ones that. Yeah, he wants to grow them now. So I'm like, great.
Wow.
Let's do that.
He wants to get a boat.
Wow.
Live on the beach and grow mushrooms. Perfect.
You could totally go with that life, Helen. You're nearly there.
Exactly. We're almost there.
Yeah. Well, I think all of us have had lots of good ideas.
Sorry, I've got to go because I've got another one online, but nice to see you all.
Thank you so much, Ross. Thank you for your help. I really appreciate it.
It's all right, and see you next
Yeah, thanks, Ross.
See you later.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, funnily enough, we're similar. My husband is thinking he'd like to become a maths tutor. That's what his brother does. So that's what he is in his new life. That's what he might like to aim to do. So we shall see if that manages to work out. We're trying to move house as well, which is also obviously not happening right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the aim is.
Well, if he wants to be a tutor, tell him to get in touch with the TTA, because there's the Tutors Association website's got some information on, and I mean it's a professional body, so it will provide advice and CPD and guidance for setting up as well as obviously ongoing as well. So it might be worth him having a look.
Okay, I will pass it on. Thank you.
Yeah, he'd be good at that.
He loves it. He's absolutely loving homeschool for these two and doing maths with them and working out. Obviously, he can do the maths, but telling them how it makes sense to them, because the kids' brains work very differently as well. So the same concept is explained very differently per kid. But yeah, he likes the challenge of that. I can see him doing that.
Good.
I can see him. Call him Mr. Jamie. Yes, Mr. Jamie.
That's it.
So we're up to over 1,300 views now. So we're going up 100 views about every 10 minutes. So
oh wow, really good.
Coffee time in the mummy land.
popular subject. So
This is all the people that have realised they missed it and they're now logging on. And
that's the good thing about it, is that it will stay on the page like forever. So we can refer people back to it all the time, and I will keep sharing it out, even though it's no longer live. I'll keep sharing it, and the same for you guys. I mean, you've got a Facebook page, haven't you? So you can share the link onto your Facebook page, get it up there. Same on if you've got a newsletter or anything like that, get it sent out in a newsletter. I'm going to be doing a weekly newsletter on a Friday with the videos of everything that's just happened, with an advert for what's happening next week. So that this will go out to our mailing list as well. But yeah, I mean, thank you very much. I thought it was ace. Loved it.
No, you're very welcome. If you want to get in touch again and do anything else, then obviously very happy to try and support, especially if you get lots of questions on a certain topic. Yes,
well, that might be something useful. Maybe we could have a specific subject or something, maybe. I don't know.
When results come out, I'm sure there will probably...
Oh, God, yeah.
That'll be a particular time when maybe we want to set some time aside. But yeah, I mean, in the intervening period, if they try and send some schools back or not others, or if there's another big announcement on what's going on, then if you end up getting a lot of interest on it, then I'll let you sort of lead on when you say, actually, can we talk about it again?
But also, yeah, I mean, if there's an announcement that comes out or anything that you think would be worth sharing, then just send me an email, and you know, if you see something, then just let me know. But
yeah, if anything big happens, then I'll let you know anyway, and you can decide how we do it. Yeah.
This poor old Ruby, she's really, oh God, her grammar school, they're sending like full-on lessons, like they're sticking to a full timetable every day and a lesson. I've just been reading the drama. She said, oh, I've got drama. I went, oh, you don't have to do anything for that, do you? Just, you know,
run around and be a cat or something.
Oh my God, you should see the drama homework, because it's a double lesson, so it's like a 2-hour lesson. Oh my God, I thought that was the homework for like the week. No, that is the homework for one lesson. And they're having to upload it all into this portal so that they can check that they've done it, and it's awful.
Intensive.
It's really hard. I mean, I just looked at it and I was like, oh, let's not bother with that. She's like, no, I have to. Oh,
gosh.
I know.
Don't forget, a lot of the schools are, especially the independent and grammar schools, are really, really conscious of parents thinking, what am I getting for, like, what are my kids doing? What's the point in you being there to teach them, and you're getting paid to teach them, but you're not doing it? So even my son, who's in kindergarten, is supposed to have Microsoft Teams lessons after Easter holiday. Me and my wife are not quite convinced that he's actually going to that's necessarily going to be the most productive thing. We're having 16 3- and 4-year-olds on a Microsoft Teams school, all on the teachers trying something, and I know they're normally very good. So
I'd be
I'm
like,
sure they'll try and do a good job. But I know it's not. I know it's not going to be the same, because when they're 3, they need someone there to be holding their hand and giving them a hug. And
we did that in our class. They're 6-year-olds, and the teacher put everyone on mute apart from herself, and then she just read them a story. And she's going to go around and just say, you know, have you had a nice time? And then name the child and then unmute them. You get your answer. The next one, get your answer.
Yeah.
And that works, but it has to be teacher controlled. Otherwise, it's just mental.
100%.
Nobody can handle that.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. But they did quite like seeing her, and they liked that she could talk to them. I think the fact that they thought it was just one way was brilliant. Kids were like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. No, it's good. But,
brilliant. All right, gang. Well,
all right.
Thank you so much for all
Thank you very much.
And we'll stay in touch.
Kate, for your hand waving.
No worries.
Appreciated.
See you
Thanks,
later.
Helen. Bye.
Bye. Bye.